What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, we're talking around chip strategy. So that could be whether to use your chips now, like Wildcard, what the pros and cons are, what a draft might look like, whether we should be planning to use our free hit in game week 27, game week 30 or beyond, what happens if you've got one free hit versus two, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we've had the double game week 26 announcement now, so we can look into this a little bit further. Things are going to change slightly from after we have the FA Cup draw for the 5th round, which happens on Sunday. So at that point, we were not going to know who's going to blank in game week 30, but we're going to have a better idea of who might as well. So I'm going to incorporate that information into kind of the game week preview and the team selection, which will all happen before the deadline. So for this one, if you do enjoy it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So I thought we'd start off with a little bit of a reminder of kind of where the blank and double game weeks are going to fall in some cases, or likely to fall in other cases as well, right? And for some teams, it's just impossible to say 100% this is when they're going to double, but I'll talk through that as well. Now, a lot of this information has come from Ben Krellin. Make sure you follow him on Twitter if you don't already. Obviously, he's got like nearly 200,000 followers, so I'm sure most of you do already, but go and follow him if you don't. Really helpful with kind of double game week stuff as well. Planet FPL do a podcast as well. They talk through chip strategy and stuff like that quite in depth as well. Now, this is where we're at. 25 we know is a double, Man United and Brighton. 24 is also a blank for Brighton, but whatever, right? Who cares about that at the moment? 26 is a big double, probably bigger than was expected. And this is what I'm saying, right? For some of it, we just have to be reactive. There's going to be games that go in, and we're not going to predict exactly who and when it's going to happen. We're just going to have to be ready to use our transfers for that. But game week 26 is a big double. That's locked in. Game week 27 is a blank for Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester, and Chelsea. But it could also have double game weeks in as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But 27 to 29 and 31 to 37 game weeks, they could have double game weeks in them. It doesn't mean that they'll have loads every single week. It could just be one team, which, by the way, or two teams, sorry, but it's not that great necessarily just to have kind of one or two teams that double, because it narrows the amount of captaincy options. It means that a lot of people will go for similar captains, so you don't get as much of a points gain. Although if you're high up the ranks, you're probably happy about that. But 27 to 29, 31 to 37 could have double game weeks in. Lots and lots of smaller double game weeks. And the reason is there's just loads of games to still rearrange. Leicester, for example, do not have a double in 25 or 26, but yet they've got 4 games to rearrange. They're going to have to go in somewhere at some point. We might get a triple game week where a team plays 3 matches in one game week, which happened last year with Man United. They don't happen that often. That was like the first one for like 14 years or something. But it could happen with Leicester possibly. But if not, they've got 4 games to rearrange. That's 4 double game weeks between kind of game week 27 and the end of the season. And game week 38 will almost certainly be just 1 game each. So between 27 and 37, they've got to fit in 4 extra games. It's going to be a lot of double game weeks for Leicester. They're definitely going to be on our mind later on in the season. Game week 30 will be a blank. Now, that's all down to the FA Cup. So this weekend, the FA Cup 4th round fixtures are being played. The teams that win will obviously then progress to the 5th round. And the teams that progress from that round will then have their fixtures as a blank in game week 30, and they will have to be rearranged later. Now, again, the reason the free hit's so good for game week 30 is the teams that go through tend to be the better teams that we'd have FPL players from. And obviously, if they're blank and they're no good, so you free hit them all out and you get in players that are playing. That's why that week has been designated as the free hit week for so long. But that will be a blank game week. Now, we're not going to know this weekend exactly who's blanking necessarily. We might know some teams that are playing in that week. But we could have a good idea. You know, if Man City draw someone kind of a couple of leagues lower in round 5, you probably know they're going to get through, and therefore they're going to blank in game week 30, and so will their opponent, just as an example, right? Game week 33, this is again for FA Cup, could be a blank game week. It's possible that the teams that go through in the FA Cup and have their fixture postponed could play it midweek, the same week. So they might not necessarily have a blank. That's why it's a question mark. But it could also have some double game weeks in as well. And again, the rearranged FA Cup fixtures or postponements will be a big double in game week 36. So the things that are kind of pretty much guaranteed is blanks in game week 27, blank in game week 30, and a big double in 36. Outside of that, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, right? So one of the reasons to maybe use your chips now is because you know what's going to happen, but another reason to save them might be because you don't know what's going to happen. Let's talk about that a bit more. All right, these are just some notes that I've made as well. Now, some of this I've already kind of covered, but I want to go into a bit more detail. If I don't need to, I'll just kind of go over it quickly. Now, the FA Cup draw, I want to explain why it's kind of important for this week. So the games that are being played this weekend are for the 4th round, round, and the draw is going to be made for the 5th round. And the teams that get through that, through 4th and 5th round, they will then blank in Game Week 30, and obviously so will their opponents. Now, not everything will be locked in, but we might have a better idea of who could blank, who will blank, and who will play as well. So to give you an example, okay, and I've not gone and looked at the round 4 fixtures, right, so I'm just picking teams at random just to make a point. But let's say Norwich and Chelsea, this is a fixture from Game Week 30. Let's say that both those teams get through the 4th round, and then they're drawn together in the 5th round. We then know that this fixture's off no matter what the result is in the 5th round. Because if Norwich win, somehow beat Chelsea in the 5th round, they will go through to the next round. They won't be able to play this fixture, and therefore neither will Chelsea. And obviously if Chelsea win, vice versa, right? So if any of these teams get drawn against each other in the 5th round, you know that game's going to be off. So that's why it's quite important, right? Because if teams are definitely off, then that might affect how our chip strategy works, right? So it might not set everything in stone, but it gives us a good idea, right? We'll know, so who's blanking in Game Week 30? We'll know all the definite fixtures by Game Week 28. That's when we'll 100% know. But again, we might have some idea before then of what could happen based on bookies odds and stuff like that as well, right? One of the more interesting things on this list is that Ben reckons, and again, nothing's 100% guaranteed. Don't go making big plans because of this, but it's worth thinking about. Villa versus Burnley right now is probably the most likely fixture to move to Game Week 27. So yes, that would give both those teams a double game week in Game Week 27, which is really interesting because if I come up to Game Week 27 here, Burnley would then play Palace and Villa. It's not amazing, but it's not awful either. But it does mean they'd have back-to-back doubles. So suddenly, if you're not free hitting in 27, Weghorst, Pope for Game Week 26 and 27, 4 games in 2 game weeks, could be options, right? And also, if Villa double, that means they would play Brighton away, which is the fixture here, and then obviously they'd have Burnley as well. And to be honest, Villa fixtures are okay after that as well. In 28, they've got Southampton at home. 29 is West Ham away. I mean, they're not amazing, but they're not necessarily fixtures you'd be really worried about having to play someone like Luka Dean or Watkins in. And obviously they'd have the game in 27 as well as a double. So suddenly, right, if you're a team like mine, for example, that's got no Villa players, and I'm loading up on Liverpool and Arsenal, well, in Game Week 27, it might be worth using a transfer to offload one of those players that blanks, to bring in a couple of players that double, and suddenly I don't need the free hit, right? So that is one thing to kind of have a think about. You don't necessarily need to lock yourself. You ideally want to know your strategy this week, but if you could roll a transfer and save it for next week and just hope to get more information, that might be the better play. So Game Week 27 could be a blank for some teams and could be a double for others as well. So it might mean the free hit's not necessarily needed. Ben also said to me, Game Week 38 could be the only normal week left, i.e. where every team only plays one game. Every game week from now until 38 could either be a blank for some teams or double for some teams, which is interesting. Very weird season, but we're going to have to... That was just a little note I wanted to put in here. Obviously, we're not going to know a lot of the game week 31 to 37 double game weeks till later on in the season. So again, might be worth saving chips for that. And obviously, saving one of your free hits. So if you don't use it for 26 or 27, then you could use it for either the really big double if you need it, or possibly even use it for one of the smaller ones as well. So loads of things to think about. FA Cup draw this week is going to be pretty big. Okay, so in this section, right, I want to talk about the Game Week 24 wildcard. I've got a draft as well, but I also want to talk about the Game Week 28 fixture swing and why it might mean you should save the wildcard, but also why I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, right? So we'll go through the pros and cons. I've just got a few points. So one of them, obviously, use it now. You can pretty much plan for double Game Week 25, double Game Week 26, and also blank Game Week 27 in one wildcard, right? I think you can pretty much cover it. I'll come on to the draft in a minute. And you can also remove any deadwood. So you might still be left with Chelsea defenders. You might want to switch your goalkeepers. You might be stuck with, I don't know, like loads of Watford players because of their doubles and stuff like that. Maybe you've got loads of Everton players who, by the way, have got a lot of games to rearrange still, or a few games, but they're not in 25 or 26 or 27 right now. So you might want to get rid of some of them and just not have so many. I mean, a lot of people tripled up or doubled or tripled up. And the last double game week didn't work out very well. It didn't even happen, right? One of the games was missed. So there could be a lot of deadwood in your team to get rid of. Some of the cons, obviously, you've got no information for game week 30 onwards, so there could be a lot of double game weeks. I'm not saying if you wait till 28 or 29 or 30 or 31 to use it, that we'll have every single double game week for the rest of the season confirmed, but we might have more information than we have now, right? We definitely will have more information, so it could be worth saving. And obviously, if you do want a bench boost in game week 36, which is the next big double game week, the easiest way to set that up with kind of like 12 to 15 double game week players is to wildcard as late as possible. Now, I don't want to go into it too much. There's pros and cons to doing that, right? If you leave your wildcard to game week 34 or 35 just to set up a bench boost, how many points have you missed before then? And I do think the bench boost is really hard to kind of accurately say how many points it was worth, because a lot of the time people make decisions they wouldn't usually make just because of the bench boost. So they lose points just to gain points later. And I'm not saying the bench boost is worthless, but I do think there's a lot of stock in using it in a single game week if it will work out. So a lot of people in game week 26 are going to have good benches, but they're not going to want to use the bench boost because obviously they've got triple captain Salah. But there's another week like that where you've got a good bench boost. It could just be worth using it earlier. So I don't think... Don't get me wrong, if you're going to wildcard late anyway because it fits in with your team, then of course you set up for a bench boost in that game week 36. But I don't think that bench boost in 36 should be the only reason you saved a wildcard. If you can get a bunch of points before that, you should use it earlier. So that's just one thing to kind of consider. So we won't have information from 30 and beyond until later on, but it might not necessarily be the be-all and end-all of whether you need to save your wildcard. For what it's worth, I probably will save mine because I don't think I need it right now, but I can see why people are using it. And there is another fixture swing very soon in game week 28. But, so originally, before the game week 26 double happens, there was some people considering a game week 28 wildcard to make use of the fixtures. But if you look at the teams that are having this fixture swing, does it really matter, right? Chelsea, right now, if I said to you, these are the fixtures, who are you going for? Okay, maybe Mason Mount. Maybe Lukaku if he fits in, but Kane's still got fixtures to rearrange. Obviously, Man United, we'll come on to in a minute, can probably be gotten rid of. But how many people are going to have space for Salah if you want to keep Salah? He could be gotten rid of. Come on to that in a minute. And Lukaku, I don't know if they fit. So maybe one Chelsea defender if Reece James is back fit. Otherwise, Rudiger, possibly. But if other teams have got double game weeks and Chelsea don't have as many, who knows what will happen with the FA Cup? Would they be as good options? So, obviously, if everyone was fit, 100%, you look at those fixtures, I have Chilwell, I have James, I have Mount, or I have Lukaku, right? Happy days. But right now, there's a lot of players to get back fit and firing before 28, and I'm just not sure it's going to happen. Right? I think Reece James is still a good few weeks off. Leeds, yes. Rafinha, brilliant. But guess what? You can buy Rafinha now, right? And you could hold him the whole way through. He's got a double in 26. He's got good fixtures either side of it. Good enough, anyway, for a player of his price. And then from 28 onwards, great fixtures. There's not really a reason to save the wild card. Arsenal, yes. But again, you could bring them in now. Double in 26. Good fixture in 28 for Watford. If you're going to free hit in 27, it doesn't matter. Arsenal are also going to play in game week 30 as well, no matter what. They're not going to blank. So they're good options anyway. So again, is it worth saving the wild card? Probably not. Wolves, I don't know how many people are going to want Jimenez. Ain't Nuri possibly an option? You can have him on the bench right now if you wanted to. And Southampton, it's really Broja and no one else. So there's not really a huge amount of players who are about to have good fixtures that I think we'd necessarily really want to jump on. The other thing is to look at the teams that are popular and what their fixtures are like from kind of game week 28 to 32 as well. So Man United straight away, Man City, Spurs, Liverpool. We can get rid of them by game week 28 anyway. So if you've got like a Ronaldo still, for whatever reason, that's an easy swap to Lukaku, right? You could downgrade him to someone cheap, use that money to spend elsewhere. Obviously, a lot of people have got Antonio and Bowen, so they could be gotten rid of as well, possibly. Liverpool, look, I'm not saying you get rid of Liverpool players. We're not necessarily going to need a triple up for that run. So if you want to keep Salah, fine. If you want to keep Trent, fine. Do we need Robertson or Jota? Maybe not. So with this, it's all well and good saying you can just transfer all those players out. That's a lot of transfers. If you do want to convert a lot of these players, or the players from those teams to players from these teams, that could be a wildcard worthy discussion closer to the time. So that might be another reason not to use it right now. But for those of you that kind of are looking to use it right now in Game Week 24. So this is, I'm actually going to change this graphic really quickly. This is from FPL.team. And this is the team that I've come up with. So you got your triple Liverpool there, Salah, Robertson and Trent. You're going to see them in most wildcard teams, I think. Goalkeepers have gone for Ramsdale and Sanchez because you get the double game week in 25 for Sanchez. You get the double game week in 26 for Ramsdale. And also Ramsdale covers Sanchez's blank, so I don't think you hit a blank there. Quite a few cheaper midfielders, so Rafinha, who I've just spoken about, I got Elise from Palace. You probably want to go for Zaha if you can afford it. And Martinelli obviously is popular right now from Arsenal. Still got Ronaldo because I don't care what anyone says. I want to captain a Man United player in 25. And then you got your triple kind of Brighton on the bench who are all doubling next week. And Josh King as well. You could play Josh King over Dalot if you wanted to. Whatever, right? This is just a draft I put together. People might have better ideas than me. Different players to change. This is just something that I was kind of looking at, right? Now, if you move it to game week 25... Ramsdale blanks, not a problem. You put Sanchez in, who's got the double. Martinelli blanks, not a problem. Not a problem. You put in more pay, and then Webster's got a double as well. You probably, to be honest, take out Elise and ignore the captains for now, right? Webster's a nice cheap option who should be nailed on. So okay, maybe it's not great having to play 5-3-2. But they're pretty good they're pretty good options, right? Trent and Robertson, brilliant. Cancelo, obviously, against Norwich, easy. And then you got one Sanchez. You got triple Brighton and double Man United, Dalot and Ronaldo. So you got your captaincy there. That all looks good. So you've covered game week 25. You move into game week 26. And suddenly you've got a few more double game weekers. So you take out Sanchez. You've got Ramsdale back in. Elise's got a double. I do worry a bit about his minutes. I will say that. Like I said, if you can afford Zaha, maybe he's a better option. And bearing in mind, when I'm going through 24, 25 and 26 and even 27 here, I'm not using any transfers. So you could maybe start with different players and move other players on, right? Like Morpay could go to Weghorst, for example, as well. So I'm just running through this without transfers, right? You can figure that out for yourselves. So Rafinha's got a double. Salah, obviously your Liverpool boys have got them. You got to bring on King. Elise in for Morpay. We'll bring on King for Webster. Dalot can also come out for Martinelli. And then suddenly you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 double game week players for 26. And also you've still got 2 transfers you've not used yet. So Ronaldo to Kane could be an option possibly, although you could keep Ronaldo for game week 27 if you wanted to. And you've got a pretty good bench. I know people aren't going to want to bench because they're going to want to triple captain Salah, but it's an option. And then you move on to 27. So this is your blank week now. So Liverpool and Arsenal are all blanking. If I just take out all the again, this is before transfers as well. So suddenly you've only got Robertson and Salah who are blanking. If I put Webster in as well. Don't put Webster in for Robertson. You've only got Salah who's blanking. That's the only one. And you've not used any transfers at any point, right? So you could have done Ronaldo to Kane in game week 26 to get one extra double game week player. And although Ronaldo has Watford this week in 27, Kane has Leeds. And you can use a transfer on one of these outfield players. Like you don't have to stick with Robertson and Trent the whole way through, especially if we go back to the fixture swing. I'm not saying Liverpool can't keep plenty of clean sheets, but one thing to consider for all this is Champions League's back as well. So who knows, there might be a bit more rotation. So you could take Robertson out. Let's say the Villa double gets put in here. You take out Robertson, you put in Luka Dean, job done. You got another player there. You keep Salah, you take him out, and suddenly for one transfer from game week 24 to 27, obviously this depends on injuries and it obviously depends on Elise getting minutes still. We'll have to see what happens with Watford, for example, who Hodgson ends up playing. But suddenly for one transfer, you've covered like 8 double game weekers in 26. You got 5 in 25. You've got a full team playing in game week 27. Like, it looks okay. I'm not going to keep going further and further, but even the fixtures for game week 28 are not that bad. And as I talk through this, I'm kind of talking myself into it. Again, if you've used your transfer on Ronaldo to Kane for this bit, he's got Everton in game week 28. So let's just say you sold Ronaldo in 27, right? Or whenever it was. You got Kane against Everton. And also, you're going to play Salah every single week anyway. You're going to play Trent every single week anyway. And you've got Martinelli there as well, so you don't even have to play King. And suddenly, that team still looks really good. And I've only used like 1 or 2 transfers. So 28, it looks fine. 29, it still looks fine. Okay, you maybe want to get rid of some of your kind of Brighton players. But at no point have you got a blank. You've got good fixtures for your goalkeepers. You've got a bunch of doubles. So I actually quite like the Game Week 24 wildcard. I really do see why people are kind of going for it. And I'm not really sure if there's like a massive need to hold onto it. The only issue is, in this week in Game Week 26, which is the ideal bench boost time, you're going to want a triple captain. And obviously you can't bench boost in the blank. And do you really want to bench boost in Game Week 28? Probably not. So when you're going to use that is a little bit more difficult. And maybe there's players you can change around, right, so that you can bench boost. But otherwise, I quite like it. I think you get rid of a lot of deadwood. You get a lot of good players in. You get a lot of double game week players. You don't have to use your free hit in 27, so you can use one in 30 and you can use one down the line. And bearing in mind, people are going to have to make transfers for other double game week players anyway. I don't think it looks that bad. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, so I'm just going to go through just lastly like some game week 26 and 27 chip thoughts, and then some just general chip thoughts as well. So game week 26, look, Salah triple captain is the most obvious triple captain you'll probably ever get. You play FPL for the next 10 years, you'll probably never get as good an option as Salah at home twice to two of the worst defenses in the league, right? So I do like it. I do think for some teams there is the option to bench boost. I don't like how some people talk about it, where they're like, it's bench boost versus Salah. It's not really. It's bench boosting now versus not bench boosting in the future. And it's avoiding triple captain now versus using it in the future as well. There won't be as good a triple captain option. So if you think you can end up bench boosting elsewhere, you should probably just triple captain, right? Free hit is an option, but given that Game Week 26 is still 3 weeks away and you've either got a wild card or 3 transfers, you probably don't need to use it, right? So I don't think most people need to use a free hit, but you could do. Again, it's all going to be team dependent. Game Week 27, I think everyone is just like, the Game Week 26 double is so good for Arsenal and they've got Watford in 28. We should just go all in because we can just free hit in 27. I don't think you necessarily need to, right? And even if you do, you could use transfers in Game Week 27 to get up to 10 or 11 playing players. And given that most people are probably going to free hit in a lot of the players you own anyway, I'm not trying to like go against the crowd for the sake of it, but I think everyone's locked into free hit 27. I don't think it's necessarily the be-all and end-all. I think it might be better off used elsewhere. Again, you're not going to be able to use your free hit in 36 if you also want to bench boost that week. But it could be, who knows, maybe there'll be another week where we're expecting small double game week, and there's suddenly a big one. We're not prepared for it. Bam, you've got your free hit. I do prefer using them in blank game weeks. It's worth saying that. But I don't think it's the be-all and end-all. And also, Liverpool players might be sellable. Not necessarily Salah, not necessarily Trent, but your third Liverpool player could be sold. I'm thinking already, when I get to Game Week 27, how long do I want to hold Jota for? I think I'm okay for 24, maybe even 25 because of the African Cup of Nations. And I'm obviously going to keep him for 26 and hope that he plays both games. Because obviously Luis Diaz is probably just not going to come straight in and just start playing loads of minutes. But after that, could I sell Jota? What will his minutes be like? Champions League's back. And also they got not great fixtures. So Jota's really good value. But at that point I might be able to sell him. So again, it lets me get in another player that's not blanking. And boom, I don't have to use my free hit necessarily. I might end up using it, right? And obviously, if the doubles are added, like if Villa versus Burnley gets put in there or other games get put into Game Week 27, then suddenly it might be a bit easier to kind of roll through without using the free hit. So although it's handy to know what you want to do so you can start structuring your transfers towards it, you don't necessarily have to lock in right now, right? Just think about that. General chip thoughts, again, won't be a better option for triple captain. Wildcard, I think ideally you want to save it if you can. But to be honest, after going through that Game Week 24 wildcard, I kind of almost talked myself into it a little bit. I'm not sure about the Elise pick, but everything else I kind of like. Preferably, you probably want to use it for most people sometime after Game Week 30. Could be 31, 32, 33, who knows right now. Bench boost needs to be flexible. I don't think it's worth jeopardising your whole strategy just to get a few extra points on the bench boost. If you've got a good single game week to use it in, and also if you can use it before you wildcard, in some ways that's even better, right? Because you're wildcarding out of a team that you might not wanted to keep, right? So let's say you've made a few transfers to get a good bench boost, you can then wildcard out of that, but be flexible around it. And yeah, free hit right now, if you've only got one, I think save it for Game Week 30, try and navigate Game Week 27 without it. That might change based on what happens in the FA Cup and stuff, and fixtures get rearranged, but right now that's my thinking. If you got two, then I think you use one in Game Week 30 still, and then you either use it in 27, if not, maybe 33 if there's blanks and doubles there, maybe 36 if you don't want to bench boost, you've already used the triple captain. There's possibilities there, but you don't have to lock yourself in right now. So there we go. Hopefully that one was helpful. I know there's a lot of information to digest there, right? In some ways, we're getting into a more fun part of the season, but there is a lot more information to think about. Lots of blanks, lots of doubles, lots of chips and stuff like that. But hopefully that was a useful kind of run through. If it was, give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you're new. I will have another video once the FA Cup fixtures are kind of done and the 5th round draw has been made. It'll probably be kind of locked into my team selection as well. Kind of going through what my chip strategy is, because I've got an idea of my transfers over the next few weeks, But if I can manage game week 27 or possibly even game week 30 without a free hit, that kind of changes things again. So I'll have another video for you soon, game week preview and all that stuff coming up before the Tuesday deadline. Thank you for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed it and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. And I'll catch you again soon.